Greetings. Welcome to another episode of Art Matters. I'm Wayne Quackenbush. I'm the host and the CEO of the Portsmouth Arts Guild. I also show local artists in my place in Newport, Rhode Island. Today we have two new artists to interview, and the first artist that we'll be talking to is Cayte Major. She's all the way down here from Woonsocket, Rhode Island. Mm-hmm. And we met through a mutual friend, Sue DeSalt Edens. Cayte says that they've met through the local music scene and they're fellow artists. Cayte is very influenced by the darker side of popular culture from what I've seen. Yes. And we'll get to showing some of her artwork shortly. Cayte, how did you start painting?
Painting really came to me a little bit later. I drew mostly since I was a kid, and then once I got to college, I was basically forced to paint from my teachers. Paint always kind of made me nervous. I thought it was more of a permanent thing that I couldn't go back and fix anything if I wanted to, but I kind of just started feeling it out, and it just kind of became a love for me. So. And
you were in art classes
yes.
In college?
Yep.
And I know that you have a couple of degrees from various places, mm-hmm. and I also know that you are very influenced by movies.
Yes.
What kind of movies would you say that you like the most?
I'm obviously a very big horror fan.
Okay.
Horror movies have been a very big influence. Just the creativity and just, it's exciting for me.
Okay. So what would you say would be your favorite decade for that?
Definitely the late 70s and 80s movies, okay. Like Texas Chainsaw and all of the,
So you're moving into the slasher era.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can talk as we go, and you can start showing some of your work.
Sure. Okay. Since we're talking about horror people, that's one.
And that would be
Vampira. Yes.
The original horror host from Los Angeles, 1950s. I wish that there were more kinescopes of her work, mm-hmm. But she was known for her appearance in what movie?
Can't quiz me on too much horror knowledge. Oh my goodness.
Okay, well I'll tell you. Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Yes,
and
okay.
She appeared as one of the aliens that were reviving the dead, and she appeared in Bela Lugosi's last movie. Obviously a big influence on more current horror hosts like Elvira. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And is that done in acrylics?
It's a mixture of acrylics and watercolor.
Really?
That's usually what I do a lot of my work in.
That's unusual.
Yeah,
so do you start with watercolor and add acrylic to it?
I'll do usually like a base of watercolor in case there's like areas I would like to go over darker. I can do that, and then sometimes I'll mix them together. Just I don't know, it's something that I've kind of been doing the past couple of years.
Wow, I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, it's strange, but I am too, so it makes
sense.
So
is that reflecting back on your lack of confidence with paint? And you
Slightly, yes. And then I started getting too confident, and now I'm like, I'm going to just use every kind of paint.
Yeah, so, there's no reason. I mean, so do you have to seal it at all, or you just leave the color?
I don't normally. If it's going to go somewhere where I could be nervous about it, I will put some sort of coating on it, but I normally don't.
Yeah, sometimes I get concerned about the pigment, and I also like to work with a layered effect like you're doing, but I've never heard of watercolor and acrylic mixed together.
Try it. It's fun.
Okay.
Can start a whole new movement.
Yeah, okay, very good. Okay. So we'll go on to the next piece.
Sure. This is mainly just a watercolor piece. I did a little time in a tattoo shop.
Okay, now by doing a little time, what does that mean?
I worked in a tattoo shop as an apprentice for a little while,
okay.
So I did spend a lot of time drawing, and that's where a lot of my newer drawing skills came from.
So by doing Flash, you kind of honed your skills.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. And I did a lot of watercolor work when I was doing my Flash, so it kind of helped me in that nervous aspect of trying to grow more. So I definitely learned a lot there with my detail, and it's definitely helped me grow a lot.
It's quite a daunting profession because you aren't allowed to do very many mistakes.
Right.
And you have to be really clean and tight with your lines. I remember being attracted to that when I was much younger and realized that I'm too much of a messy artist to do something like that.
Yeah, it can be
so I can see the tight outlines here. And,
yeah.
and then you put down colors to fill in. I can definitely see how tattooing would be a big influence on what you do.
Definitely.
And the next piece?
Sure.
And we can also talk about the secret origin of Oscara, because
Okay.
that's your signature and that's your name.
Yes, I actually just developed this brand in the past couple of years.
Okay.
There was a time where I wasn't sure which direction I wanted to head in as an artist. Like, am I this type of artist? Am I that type of artist? Or things of that nature. So I started to really grow my love of painting different characters from films and things of that nature. So I was like, I'm just gonna roll with this. And I became known as the horror artist, so I kind of have to own that now. But I actually got my name from my roller derby name that I picked out when I joined Providence Roller Derby.
Okay, we're going to talk about this, and then we'll talk about roller derby,
Okay.
because I know that that's really interesting.
Okay.
Now, is this from something?
It is not. I actually have a very big fascination for eyes.
Okay.
So naturally, I need to paint giant ones all the time too.
Yeah. Yeah.
As dark as my subject matter is, I love using bright colors too. So I have a habit of adding bright colors to a lot of dark things, which makes them kind of more interesting, I think.
Kind of reflects it to the whole 80s vibe, though,
Yeah.
of that kind of horror, because everything was neon. It was a big break away from the, let's just say, earth tones of the late 70s. Those things got flashier. And you have a very acid-looking yellow surrounding that eye.
Makes things pop too, I think,
Yes.
when you use the
yeah,
brighter colors
yeah,
on
you
the
definitely
darker
get
things.
noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is that from a photograph, or
No.
you made the whole thing up?
Yep.
Okay, so it's not
After
e-
I painted it, I actually remembered the that scene in the original Texas Chainsaw when
the very
Sally's sitting at
classic
the
scene,
table.
yes, and
That's
there's
one of
a
my favorite
very,
scenes.
intimate shot of her eyes in complete terror.
Yes.
And it's one of the most nerve-wracking scenes ever put on film. Okay, so we can change that up, and let's before you bring the next piece up, let's
Sure.
talk about roller derby.
Let's talk about roller derby.
Okay, so actually maybe you can bring another painting up and talk about
Yeah,
roller
no,
derby at the
definitely.
same time.
Okay, sure. This is just an out of my head thing.
Okay.
I kind of developed the brand with Oscara, and stay creepy has been kind of my little slogan that I use a lot. So I just wanted to paint something with that in it somewhere.
So roller derby.
Roller
derby. 5 months of training.
About that, it varies depending on each recruitment session.
And we were talking a few minutes ago before we started taping about how kids don't really develop that skill anymore. There's no rollerblades, no roller skates, but in Providence, Rhode Island, there's a thriving roller derby series of teams. And Oscara is your artist name and your roller derby name.
I just go by Oscara for my artwork,
Okay.
but my full roller derby name is Scarlett Oscara.
Okay, and so you made that official about a year ago, right?
Yep.
And you were also saying that roller derby is a lot different from when I was a kid, where the women, you would have called them ladies back then, got very violent, and it was almost like wrestling. Things are more
more theatrical.
And less damaging.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of rules now. We can't pick each other up and throw each other across the track or anything like that. It's a very tough and athletic sport.
It must be very demanding.
It is,
yeah.
and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, you must have good ankles.
Somewhat. Depends on the day.
So does everybody develop a character like a wrestler?
I'm not that far, but everyone has their names, and
You
some
have a
people
flair for the dramatic.
Yeah, I am very dramatic. I try and do a little bit of bout makeup for every bout that we have. So.
Oh, like war paint.
Basically, yes.
Yeah, I can get that.
Bout day paint.
So this is, again, you have the hard outline and the colors.
Yeah, I do a lot of hard outlines.
And the hint of past violence. You're showing the blood running out of the skull.
Oh, yes.
And all that. Okay, so onwards.
Okay. This is one of my newer pieces that I just finished.
Yeah, well, we just passed Halloween, and I
It's-
know that you do a lot of Halloween-oriented work.
Yes. Halloween's never over for me.
Right, every day is Halloween,
Yes.
and I can completely identify with that. I'm a big fan of stuff like that too. So you have some kind of bird skull, which almost looks like a plate doctor, and then the planchette from the Ouija board, right? And then of course your gourds, your pumpkins, and your witch, and a little bit of jewelry to top off the cutout of the moon. And again, acrylic and watercolor.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Again, completely unique style.
It's fun. You never know what you're going to get, honestly.
So you were also, I guess, in a band or two back in the day?
I've been in a couple bands. That's actually how I met Sue.
Right.
We met in that scene a while back, and our friendship blossomed from there.
And you're a singer as well.
Yes.
So completely.
I've been off the market for a little while, so don't ask me to sing.
Nope, we're showing your artwork today.
Yes.
Now this would be the very famous Marvel Comics character Venom, who is an alien symbiote that takes over a human host and develops some, let's just say, nasty culinary habits, right?
Yes. Yeah, I actually started my fascination with drawing through comics.
Oh, really?
When I was younger, I was really into like the Spawn comic books,
Okay.
and he kind of was inspiration for some of my work. I would kind of
Oh, the Todd McFarlane style.
I would kind of draw from what I saw there and see if I could mimic what I saw, just to see if I could do it. And I don't know if you're familiar with the comic book The Sandman.
Yes.
Yes, and the
Yes.
character Death.
I've been associated with comics for
Yeah.
a very
Oh,
long
I know.
time.
The character Death that's brought into some of the Sandman comic books was a big
And
character.
His portrayal,
I followed.
Neil Gaiman's portrayal of Death, is a 16-year-old goth girl.
Yeah.
Yes. So completely disarming, but when you want someone who's going to take you to the next life, you want it to be somebody you're comfortable with. So, and believe it or not, we've reached the end of our segment, and I really
Okay.
want to thank you for coming down here
Yeah,
and
thanks for having me.
sharing your work. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Here we are with our other guest for this episode, Jeanne Raimondi, and she's a longtime guild member of the Portsmouth Arts Guild, I should say, and she predates my time with that organization. Jeanne, welcome to the show. I know you've been an artist for a long time. Do you want to talk a little bit about your history and how you got started with what you do?
Well, I started as a child, of course, painting and drawing and cutting papers and making art. In high school, I really was an art student in high school with, my teacher was a wonderful influence, and I did a lot of pottery, and that was great because you build a relationship with the clay in your hands, and you kind of lose yourself in that. I really enjoyed it. And then way back, I went to school as a fine arts major, and I dropped that. And then years later, I finished my bachelor's, but of course it's in education, secondary ed. In between, I was in the beauty business. I was a hairdresser, which I loved, and again, more art. And then I started doing Nantucket baskets at the Handicraft Club and painting.
Now you have to talk a little bit about what the Handicraft Club is.
Well, it's a wonderful organization, and it's on the east side of Providence on College Hill. And it's just for women who want to paint and do any kind of craft. Very supportive members, and I was a member there for many, many years, probably 20. Served on the board, the executive board, and it really helped me become more of a painter. I did many classes there, and as everybody does.
And as a teacher or a student?
No, as a student.
Okay.
So I learned a lot. And then I became a member of, I guess, Portsmouth, and then Bristol. And
That would be the Bristol Art Museum?
oh yes,
Yeah.
Bristol Art Museum. I started painting more still lifes in the studio at the Handicraft Club. Lisa Goddard was the oil painting teacher. And then you do it's all realism and photorealism, and I needed to loosen up. I took some watercolor classes with Richard Mathers. That really did help me loosen up. And then I progressed to plein air, and impressionistic.
Yeah, well, we were talking about how you've been kind of making a journey, and we were talking about it almost as a theme from Impressionism to abstract. You want to start with some of your work? I know that you have some plein air pieces, and,
Yeah.
and what you need to do is put it right there so that the camera can see it.
And well, this was Angel Island in California, and interesting to me was the path. And I do like painting paths. Maybe it's a journey or it's more meaningful, but this is an indication of a plein air piece in oils.
I love how you did those really nice deep purple shadows, but the colors really pop there too.
Thank you.
You have the contrast between the yellows and the purple as complementary colors, and you have some brightness happening there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I have another piece that I did, still wrapped with a saran wrap so I wouldn't damage the frame. But this is with the Monday plein air group out of Wickford, but we travel all over. This is in Jamestown.
Oh, okay. I think I might recognize one of those inlets.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
near the fort?
Yes, it's
Okay.
in Fort Witherell. I
Yep.
think they call it Divers Point.
Okay.
But I was happy with this piece. It was done probably in September. And
Of this year?
yes, yes.
So you've been very busy the last few years.
Oh, yeah. And I will paint not quite every day. But at any rate, this is all in oil. All of the plein air work I do in oil. And
And what is it that you like about oil paints?
well, I love the thickness of it. I love the application. I love how it bounces on the canvas
Yes.
with my brush. So
Do you play with different media to get either more transparent or opaque?
yes. You
And is
start with the
that,
transparent.
linseed oil and turpentine?
Yes, sometimes, but I always ground my canvas first, and I usually ground it in acrylic because it dries quickly, and of course it's been
Might wanna
gessoed.
Bring another one up as we talk so we can keep
Yep.
showing your work.
So these are plein air
You don't
pieces.
have any problems with the oils on top of acrylic?
No, it's beautiful.
okay,
It really, it works very well.
I know that sometimes there's a problem if you put acrylic on top of oil.
You can't do that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
putting water on top of oil.
Right, and because what happens, you get a nice crackle effect.
Yes. Nice
Sometimes you
crackle.
want
It'll
that.
peel off. So this piece I actually just you
That was,
brought.
is that the award-winning piece?
Yes,
The honorable
yes.
mention in the
Yes,
current members
yes.
jury show?
Yes. So this is more of a impressionistic piece. They are not flowers. I actually taught a class at Bristol Art Museum titled Impressionism to Abstraction. And I wanted to move the students from impressionism to abstraction. This is from a photograph that I took of my begonia plant.
Okay.
And it's the colors. So the triad of colors are evident. And I didn't move away from those basic colors.
So you set up your palette, and what are the three colors you're
Well,
working with?
this one was quinacridone, and it's also in acrylic. This was quinacridone magenta, manganese blue, and I think quinacridone yellow or
I'm not
azo
familiar
yellow.
with the quinacridone.
They're really nice.
Okay.
They're really nice.
All right.
So I didn't stray very much from it, although I did add a little bit of the turquoise, and that may have been watered down. And
You also get that effective water by
Yes.
throwing the turquoise in
yes, yes. So I was happy with
there. So are
this.
you using a palette knife at all in this?
Oh
or?
yeah, I use a palette knife and probably a very large brush.
Yeah.
But this was done in, I think probably June. But anyway,
Okay, we'll
I'm
bring it
happy
down
with
to
that.
Yep.
Move that on.
We have yet another award winner
Yeah,
coming up. I think this was second place in one of the shows.
yeah, yeah. This is called Purple Feathers because, well, it looks like purple feathers.
Okay.
Am I good here?
Yep. Show the
Okay.
camera. Peek around.
Peek around. It's a big piece.
It is big.
I probably should have brought some smaller ones, but
No, this is fine. So I see oranges
Yep.
popping against the purple.
yeah.
And some white, beautiful modulation in the creamy whites. And were you using feathers, or were you just?
No, I was just using a big fluffy brush.
Yeah.
And probably a little palette knife.
And you have a nice. You have what I would call a controlled, frantic feel about what you do, because there's lots of energy, but it's very contained.
Yeah, well, I guess that's me. And I strive to be looser. And this was pretty loose for me.
Yeah, you were talking about how watercolor allowed you to experience a looseness.
And paint negative space.
Yes,
And that's
yes,
you know, what I
because
need
you
to do.
have to be aware of the shapes, and watercolors, out of all of the usual medias that people paint with, is the least forgiving. If
Right.
you mess that up, you mess it up irrevocably.
Oh, well, that's what happens.
I
And
mean,
then
they
you
used
turn
to
it over
teach
and
us
paint
that
the
you
other
could-
side.
You could fix things with bleach, but it wasn't really recommended.
So anyway, I really do love this painting, and
Yeah.
I love the colors, and I love the combination of the gold against the purple. I think the framing serves as a complementary.
Yeah, it makes
To the
everything
painting.
pop.
Okay, so this is more, we're getting more abstract.
Yep, and we're making the progression from the impressionistic to the abstract.
This is an award-winning piece. This was actually in the national competition
Oh,
for the
really?
Watercolor Society.
Okay.
So this is all
That was
handmade papers.
Handmade paper, yeah, you were mentioning that.
Yeah, and this was a little bit of a struggle for me, putting it together because it's a little of collage. It's mixed media, of course. I've
Yep.
got some gold in there, gold
Gold
leaf.
leaf?
And it's all water media. And I've got a few extra pieces that are definitely mixed. So I enjoyed working on this, and I was happy to be accepted into a national competition.
Now you say watercolor, but it looks like the pigment's a lot more dense than what you would.
Well, it's water media, so it's
Oh,
a
I
little
see.
bit, it's you using,
acrylic is allowed?
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. It is a water media.
And when I remember seeing this in the show, it looked like you were had almost a calligraphic effect happening, like you have almost words forming in some of that
Yeah,
gold leaf.
Yeah.
Like you were definitely trying to communicate something.
Well, I called this piece Sahara because I thought it looks desert-like.
Yeah.
But
It definitely looks, Eastern somehow. It has a feel about
It
it.
does,
And,
it does.
and I think the handmade paper really adds to that effect because it has that rice paper consistency you can see through the paint.
So
All right, onwards.
we need some muscle for this.
This is your morning workout.
So this is a pretty recent piece. I just picked this up out of Spring Bowl. It was in their show called Reflections. And I really enjoyed this. I worked on it at home in my own little studio. And I did a cruciform. As you can see, there's a cruciform.
Yes.
And so I have a quiet area and a busy area. And it kind of, I was hoping, and I think it's pretty successful, in moving the eye around the painting.
It looks like it could almost work as a landscape.
It could. It could.
I mean, if you flip the painting.
Yeah, I want to try that.
Sure, we can do
Why
that. Because
That way?
I see it as more of as a reflection that way.
Yeah.
But
This
and then a palette knife I see must have been used here.
Yes, and
And how did you build up that texture?
oh,
Is that one of your secrets?
no, it's not really a secret. I mean, that's a mixture of pumice ground, glass beads, crackle glaze.
Oh, nice.
I've got some coal, some clear tar gel on it, and some gold leaf that I think I did a little bit of speckling, spackling on it.
Wow.
So this is definitely an abstract.
Right, but again, it's almost borderline impressionist too.
Yeah, I guess it could be.
You could see this as some kind of seascape in the morning fog or pondscape.
Interesting take on that. I didn't think of it like that. I just thought of it as an abstract, but I'm going to keep that memory
All right.
and knowledge.
Well, I made you turn it sideways.
I
so
know, I know.
It's a whole different
Kinda like it.
perspective. Now you probably have time because I know you wanted to talk about this one.
Yes, this one is it is layers, and a lot of my painting, all the abstracts are in layers, and that's a collage of a lot of different papers and painting.
Is this a recent piece?
I think I did it in January, so relatively recent. I had a
You've been
mate to
extremely
it.
prolific. I mean, I've seen your work really progress over
Thank
the
you.
years.
Thank you. So there's letters. That one is called Hidden. And there's a little personal meaning behind that. My sister was sick and passed.
Oh,
And I was
yeah,
thinking
that's
about
right.
that a lot. And it was in January
Yep.
when I put the piece together, and it's like hidden meanings in there.
Sure.
I made another painting, which has, I guess, fortunately sold. That was Finding the Way. So they're both together.
Dealing with the emotion.
Yeah, it was dealing with emotions, but I'm quite happy with it, and I have it hanging in my dining room.
Very
It can
good.
stay there.
We've
but-
kind of reached the end of our time,
Yeah.
but I really wanted to thank you for coming and showing your work today. And I know we'll be talking soon. And that wraps it up. Another episode of Art Matters. See you next time. Thanks.